So, I had originally planned to do this video a month or two ago, but things kept coming up with Rainbow Rocks and other videos, so it kept getting pushed to the background. But call it an attempt at an undercover immersive study, because the background is oftentimes where the characters of interest for today reside. Now, bear with me, Pony Nation, because to adequately explain today's video, I have to venture far from the Ponylands and into anime and even, gasp, live-action TV. But I figure if you guys can stomach Digi doing it, you should be able to handle me following suit. So whenever you're writing a story, regardless of the medium you plan on telling it through, there's usually a hierarchy of characters that are developed. You have the main protagonist with a few supporting characters, such as MOP, because you could really make a claim that Twilight would be the main character and the other 5 are just supporting characters. Or you can have multiple influencing characters. By this I mean, picture something like Call of Duty, where you're switching from soldier to soldier, and you're not just playing as one as you did in Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. Typically though, there's only one main character, hence the emphasis on Twilight as I mentioned before. When you have 2 main characters, the emotional impact one can make is cut in half, let alone if you had 6. So, with these main characters running around, finding computer rooms, mysterious keys, and smashing pots, there simply must be no room for other characters to shine through, right? Well, to this, side characters transcend the background more often than you think. These characters were never intended to be anything but items to fill the background, or comic relief personas, whose only job is to lighten the mood when the story gets a bit too meta. Obviously, I think it's safe to say MOP has the most extensive case of this happening in recent time, but theirs is for a different reason than most, and much more nebulous of a concept. We'll get into that later. For now, I think I take you guys on a wild ride back to 1974, baby. A little show called Happy Days. Nothing too special or out of the ordinary nowadays, but well beloved during its time, and it does kinda reach into our generation, since it was such an iconic show. I'm sure many of you may know of the iconic character, the Fonz. Hey! And probably assumed he was always the main character of Happy Days with his motorcycle and his slicked back hair and jean leather jacket. But you'd be wrong. The original story actually centered around Richie and his friends. The Fonz was just a supporting character who took up tenant in their home. But as the fans' love for the Fonz grew, so did his screen time. Soon, the show was no longer centered around Richie, but the Fonz, and even after that, later on, Richie was written out of the show completely by joining the military. The Fonz wasn't just loved, he was adored, and while the writers attempt to capitalize on that admiration of the masses eventually led to the show's downfall, it was a great feat nonetheless to have such an outbreak character happen. In video games, this happens all the time as well. Some of you guys might not know this, but this happened in the Sonic world. You guys all know Shadow the Hedgehog, right? From the Sonic series? God, he was the reason why I started YouTube, actually. My first channel was just PMVs with Shadow and Sonic and a few other random videos, but Sonic was probably the only reason why I'm here right now. He was actually supposed to never be in the series again after Sonic Adventure 2. After his so-called heroic death and sacrifice, etc, etc. Now, I'm not saying that I want to see Shadow die, but some of his video games afterwards were not the best. I mean, he already had a hand in Sonic 06, which anything that touched that thing is the devil. But because of the fans' love for Shadow, his entire sacrifice at the end of Sonic Adventure 2 was just completely thrown out the window. In fact, he was eventually given his own game, and while it followed suit of every other Sonic game after Sonic Adventure 2, it was complete shit. But he still got his own game, and he still has a large following. Just go ahead and talk to some of the Sonado fangirls. The list goes on, from Luigi to Marina from Darkstalkers. Though, to be fair, she did have some very nice assets. So what does this mean exactly? I've spent the past 4 minutes regaling you guys with characters who started off as one-shots or minor characters who grew into main characters because of the love from the fans. But this really doesn't work for MLP. The main 6 dichotomy is a bit different than Happy Days. Their whole staple is the fact that they're all friends. And even with the love for Derpy as immense as it is, I don't think she'll be replacing Twilight anytime soon. There's a major difference between MLP and Happy Days though. The Fonz was a character originally, with a personality that people fell in love with. There were clear actions that he took that laid out his character for the audience. Most of MLP fan favorites don't have that. The background characters' actual personalities are paper thin, but their tomes are inches thick from fandom. From Derpy's past to Trixie's tragic story, from ship to sinking ship. There's just little justification for some of the liberties that the fandom has taken with these characters. We assume Derpy is obsessed with muffins because she happened to say one word in the crowd during the same time that everyone else said the same exact thing. But that might just be why we love them. While in other shows we love the background characters because of their personality, we love the MLP ones because their absence of personality. There's volumes of blank pages that we as the viewer can write in. We love them because they're not the greatest creation the show has ever made, but because they're the greatest creation we have ever made. Well, that's just my thoughts anyway. Feel free to disagree in the comment, or just tell me what you think. Be sure to like and all that stuff. If you guys don't know, I do have a Patreon, which I'm sure you do by now because you saw it in the intro. But yeah, links are always down in the description, guys. It's always been Voluminous, it's been a pleasure.
Hey there, Pony Nation. You just watched another great video from Voluminous. Be sure to comment, rate, and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. And stay sexy, my little ponies.